Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Devil's Advocate Trades Edition with myself, Lisa McGrath, your host. And joining me today is Rob Gallagher. So, welcome, Rob. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, Lisa, for having me on. I'm excited.
Absolutely. So, I hear you got a few companies, got your hands in a few different pots there. So, tell me about it.
I do. I started my own construction company in 2010.
Okay.
A year later, I started a plumbing company. And then in 2016, I got in the tire business and then a car wash. And then in 2020, I started a restoration and HVAC company. And then the latest one is a company called ProfitX, where I'm teaching other business owners how to implement a profit sharing program in their business.
Okay. So, you've done a lot. You've been in the industry a long time.
I have, and I'm still in most of them except the tire store.
And you said you're in Cali? Is that right?
I am. Yeah, Bay Area.
How's it going down in California right now?
You know, it's I was born and raised here, so it's not like I chose to move here. But I love the weather. I'm 45 minutes from the beach, and I can be in the mountains in an hour. And my family's here, my wife's family's here, so it's something that I've learned to live with and adapt. And I also think there's a lot of opportunity economically here, especially in the Bay Area with the tech companies. There's a lot of housing here, a lot of housing needs, which is most of my service businesses are in. There's a lot of cars to wash and a lot of businesses.
I was just curious because there's so much stuff that goes on the social media and in media in general, and you don't really know what happens unless you talk to somebody who's down there, right? Like I'm in Canada, so I wouldn't know what happens down there. I'm just basically seeing all these different things, and now with like AI, like you can't even trust your eyes.
I know. It's I don't watch a lot of news. I find it stressful. I think when it comes to politics and current events, I can always focus on my own house more and work on that.
You like being in your respective cocoon, just like me. I like that.
Yeah. So I can complain about Congress, but I can't do anything about it. But I can work on my kids and my marriage and my dog and what's going on in my business and my people.
You know what? Sometimes that's all you can do. Focus on the things you can control.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I mean, like when other shit hits the fan, then we regroup and we figure it out, right?
That's right. What part of Canada are you in?
I'm in Alberta, so I'm in Airdrie, Alberta, and my wonderful producer is in Ontario, so he's 2 hours ahead of me. So whenever I book appointments with him, I like to try and take into consideration, even though the guy like never sleeps, but I like to try and take into consideration that it's a 2 hour time difference. So
yeah, I spent 11 months in Canada working.
Where?
All over. I started in Kamloops, British Columbia.
Okay.
I was painting Costco ceilings.
Nice.
And I went as far as east as Winnipeg.
Oh, God. So what did you think of Winnipeg?
It was cold. We left our paint outside one night and it froze.
Yep.
It was in the wintertime and I was like, that's not good. So I didn't do a lot of partying or hanging out in Winnipeg. It was my last job up there. So I got it done as fast as I could and came home.
Probably smart that you didn't party a lot in Winnipeg.
But I had a lot of fun in Alberta and British Columbia, and we were in Calgary and what's that, Red Deer? This is 20 years ago, so my memory is drank a lot of Tim Hortons, learned about loonies and toonies.
Yep,
and did the Canadian thing for almost a whole year.
Yeah, did you pick up A?
I did. My friend said I did when I came back. That I didn't sound the same. I'm from a country town in California here called Bakersfield. So it's kind of a little more southern draw than the rest of California. And when I was in Canada, I came back and picked up some things for sure.
Yeah, it's easy. We're pretty fun people, and we always say,
are.
Well, I always bug people about the term A. It's just one of those word fillers.
Yeah,
it's like a word that we use for everything. Like,
right.
Okay,
it's like
yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like an or ah, but then it's also like it's putting the emphasis. It's kind of like the word fuck. It's like the same thing. You can say it, you can use it
100 ways. Anything. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. It's a multi-purpose word, and we love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the thing. I love that you were in construction, plumbing, tires, restoration. I've got all those wonderful backgrounds except tires. I was never, what do you call them? Like a wrench monkey? Is that what they call them?
Yeah, wrench monkey, mechanic. Yeah.
Yeah, I've worked around grease monkey. There you go. So I did construction for 20 years, multiple levels of different types of construction, exterior, interior. I live in the renovation space. lots of friends, good friends that are plumbers, owners of plumbing companies and outfits. And then restoration is something that's very near and dear to my heart because restoration is its own beast. So love that you did that with HVAC. Now, my producer used to be an HVAC guy, so I'm sure he's going to listen real intently on this one. Not to mention that we're going to talk about profit sharing. And I'm going to tell you, so right out of the gate, I'm going to need you to sell me on this profit sharing because anytime I hear profit sharing inside of companies, I'm like, profit sharing is just a nice way to dangle a carrot so you don't pay people properly. So please educate me on how I'm thinking that's wrong.
Well, and I got to tell you the story of how I stumbled across it and why
Okay.
I wanted to try it.
Okay.
Because that is a thought that people ask me about is, okay, it's BS, right? It's just something the owner's doing to motivate the team. And I wrote a book about it that came out in January this year. And I talk about that in the book of the dangling carrot being too far or unattainable. It's one of the rules of profit sharing. I lost my job in 2009 during the housing crisis. We experienced down here. I think everywhere the banks were crashing and people were foreclosing on their mortgages. Interest rates were going through the roof, and I found myself an unplanned business owner. And it was a dream that I think my wife had more than I did. But we were very successful. We were making money right away and growing very, very fast. 3 years in, I look up one day and I have 30 employees. I'm working 70, 80 hours a week. I started that plumbing company, which was a 24-hour service company. In year 2, I was taking all the profits from the construction and spending them on starting up another company to avoid paying taxes like a good American. And I didn't like my lifestyle at the time. I had a lot of business owners, subcontractors that I was using, guys in their 60s that were on their third or fourth marriage. They didn't have a great relationship with their kids. Their health was failing them. And I just saw the picture. I saw the path that I was going down at that time in my life. And so I started reading books about business, about marketing, about structure and companies and how to set it up and make sure that I was doing everything possible and correctly to be as efficient as possible. In that reading, I stumbled across this idea of profit sharing. And let's face it, it's a buzzword, right? People hear that and they want to talk about it, and employees want to know about it because they want to get more money, and half the business owners are scared about it, but usually first are hopefully curious at least a little bit of what it's about.
Mm-hmm.
And just like most business owners I talk to now, the first time I was super curious about it. So I started searching and Googling everything I could find on profit sharing because I genuinely wanted to try it. I wanted to see if it would work and if it could motivate my team and unite them and align them on our goals. And because the theory is fascinating, right? There are a lot of people out there that have had bad experiences. So there's a negative connotation a little bit sometimes, but I wanted to try it. And the problem was I never found a black and white how-to guide, a nuts and bolts, step-by-step program of how to do it. Everybody was just talking about it. It was just theory and ideas. Nobody was standing around saying, I do profit sharing. This is how I do it. This is how it's proven to work. So with that frustration, I called in 2 of my leaders at the time into my office one day randomly, sat them down on my desk, and I said, I want to try this thing called profit sharing. And together we're going to draw up a profit sharing plan. And I wanted them involved because so it made sense. It would create buy-in from day one. And so we sat down and over a lot of debate in a couple hours, we drew up a profit sharing plan. And in 2015, the first quarter, I cut profit sharing checks for 7 people on my team. And it was an absolute disaster. The company paid out a bunch of money and I didn't see any difference in the team morale and I didn't see any difference in the motivation. And so I was like, okay, well, that didn't work. So I brought those 2 leaders back in. We talked about it. They saw the same thing and we made some adjustments and then we did it again and we made some more adjustments. Fast forward 3 years, 2018 rolls around. We made enough changes that we started to see an ROI on the profit sharing payout. And from 2018 to present day, my businesses that all had profit sharing and the ones I've added since then had had dramatic growth and success. So that kind of growth and gets a lot of attention from other business owners. They start asking me, how did you do this? And so I started spending a lot of time teaching other business owners about what I was doing. Somebody gave me the idea to write it down. Maybe you can just hand out a file to help them instead of spending all this one-on-one time. And that's where the book came from. So to answer your question, the proof is in the numbers and what I've gone from working 80 hours a week to working 40. I have a bunch of kids at home and I rarely miss a game. I do miss some games. I still run and own businesses, but I'm able to be a father. I'm able to be a husband. When I get home, I'm not thinking about the business every single second that I'm there. I don't have to have my phone on me when I get there. The
Mhm.
number of fires that I put out as a business owner day to day are greatly reduced. And the reason for that is because I've created a team of people that work, act, and care like a business owner does because they are paid like I am too. They get a share
Mhm.
of the profits of the organization that they're part of.
Okay, so here's the thing, like with me, like
Yeah.
I'm listening to you and I'm saying, okay, it sounds like there's a lot more that goes into it than just a profit sharing agreement because you would need proper HR procedures so everyone understands what their expectation is. Everybody has to come to the table with the same kind of view and ideals because profit sharing can be extremely inconsistent,
Hmm.
from one time to another. And if someone's not pulling their weight, does that mean everybody's check goes down for profit sharing? Are you guys being transparent? So that's a big question that I have. As
Yeah.
business owners, when you're sitting down and doing a profit share with your staff, do they get to see your books? Because how would they know that the correct denomination is actually being allocated to them accordingly?
Right. Good questions. You asked a couple questions there. As far as
Mhm.
so transparency is the thing I talk about in the book. I'm probably going to say that a couple times, but
It's okay.
let's back up a little bit. There's three things that you need before you can think about a profit sharing program in your business. Number
Yep.
one is you need a business that makes a profit, right? Obviously,
Mhm.
but I have to put that in there because you'd be surprised some of the questions I get asked. Okay. Number two, you need to have accurate accounting. And this is a big one. This is where a lot of, small businesses that I've talked to all over the world, I ask them, how much did you make in February of 2023? And they go, "Oh, I don't know. I gotta take this spreadsheet and this spreadsheet, and I gotta sit down and do all this math, and then it's about this area, right?" You need to have an accounting system that's monthly, daily, updated, reconciled. All your information goes in there. It reconciles with your bank accounts. You need to have a good, accurate financial program or system or bookkeeper, whatever, however you choose to do that
Mhm.
because you can't profit share off of I think it's around here, right? That's part of the transparency problem. That's where it
Right.
creates distrust, which we can talk
Yeah.
about too. The third thing you need is you need to be a genuine leader. You have to be somebody that people trust, they look up to. You can't be somebody that's known to cheat their customers, take shortcuts because your team members see that. And if you'll do it to a customer or on a project somewhere, you're more likely to do it to your own people, your own team. Like if you're just a dishonest person, then that's going to create issues for your integrity and trust down the road. So you have to have these three things before you should even consider a profit sharing program. And then one of the rules is clarity of your profit sharing program and what the payout is. And there's a couple of different payout methods and ways that I teach, but I tell people to start with $1,000 minimum payout, a threshold that makes for everyone that's on your profit sharing program. We call them DMs. They're
Mhm.
the decision makers, the ones that actually influence profit or loss.
Mhm.
They know that they're going to get $1,000 when you make profit sharing. And then as the business owner, when you set it all up financially, there's a lot of things that you have to look at to come up with this threshold that you're going to make. And once your company makes that every month, that triggers the profit sharing program to be active where people get that $1,000 payout. Now, to piggyback onto your question, does everyone see my books? Right. So the question is no. And there's a reason why for my particular case. And I leave this up to every business owners and I teach them if they're going to share their books and who they share it with, who those people are and why you share them with those people. So
Mhm.
I have 130 team members now.
Mhm.
There is about 10 to 12 people that see my books that are wide open. They can see them. Some of those people help prepare them, right? So they have to see them, the bookkeepers and the people in the back office.
Yep.
but each leader and number two of every department sees the books, and the project admins can see the books too. So it's not like it's a super secret, but I don't give open access to like my superintendent, for example, or a service manager, for example, because the problem is there takes a level of education to understand what you're looking at, to understand what the numbers really mean, right? Most
Mhm.
people see a profit and loss statement based on your high school education. They go, okay, the top number is money coming in, and the bottom number is the number that the owner is putting in his pocket, right? And there's a whole other thing called a balance sheet. You have depreciation, and you have your non P&L cash expenses like auto principal pay down loans that are not on your P&L. So there's other factors that go into those numbers that don't mean that the owner just put all this money in directly into this pocket, right?
Mhm.
There's tax implications that affect these things too. So what I tell people is if you're going to share your P&L with any group of people or whoever they are, you first need to kind of like delegating properly. You have to train them to do the task before you delegate the task. You need to educate them on a certain level of what they're looking at and what it actually really means for the company and the profit sharing program.
Mhm.
Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yeah, it does make sense.
Yeah.
I'm going through it with you, and I want to understand the other aspect to it is that when you guys release the profit sharing, does it go on their regular paycheck, or is it a completely different check? And if so, is it taxed differently?
Yeah. So I do a completely different check. I do
Okay.
not do direct deposit. I want to hand them something physical. We have a meeting in here where all the people on profit sharing, we have one meeting. We go over the numbers, and we don't go through every single line item on the P&L. We typically do like top line revenue, things that they can change. Top line revenue, the gross profit percentage on the jobs,
Hmm.
the overhead a little bit if that went up and down, and then that the fact that we made the threshold for profit sharing.
Hmm.
And then I walk around the room, and it's a bunch of checks that people get. And nowadays they're not just $1,000, or we do a different system where we use percentages based on title, and we have a couple groups that we put people in, the different percentages that they make. But starting out, to keep this simple for the sake of our conversation, they used to all be $1,000. And then when we tax them, I would ask the payroll company, just do the bare minimal taxes on these checks, right? Because they're extra checks. They're people are already paying their Social Security, they're already making their 401k contributions, they already got their FICA covered. And so the $1,000 checks, I think, were about 100 and over $912. So it was
Okay.
actually as close to $1,000 as legally as I was capable of doing to give them those checks.
Okay. I'm just looking at something. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. So that's what I would do. I would not, because I wanted to make a difference, right?
Hmm.
The other thing I learned throughout those 3 years of failing and screwing it up and trying making changes was we started out doing quarterly profit sharing, which is what we heard, corporate America is every quarterly bonus, or, everything seemed to be based on quarterly. And that's how we started. I didn't even think to do it monthly. But what I learned was if you're going to pay out a quarterly bonus in the middle of April for the
Yeah.
first quarter of the year, nobody's thinking about that bonus January and February.
Okay.
That bonus check was not affecting their daily activities for the first 2 months of that quarter. So by doing it monthly, you're actually tying in to their monthly financial needle, right? You and I don't walk around and talk about our quarterly cell phone bill or our quarterly grocery budget, right?
Hmm.
Everything we do is monthly. We
Right.
think and operate every day, every paycheck is about what is due, what do I got to pay this month, right? So by shifting it to a monthly profit sharing, we want our businesses to run the same way. We
Hmm.
got overhead to cover every month, we got payroll to cover every month, we got all this jobs we got to try to bring in every month to get that monthly P&L. And so we tied in the monthly efforts, which people is a short enough time for people to think about their daily activities, even on the first day of the month, to get the results by the last day of the month, to tie in the company's success into their own success. And that was one of the huge things that started to change, to move that needle, where people started saying, if we hit our targets for revenue and we keep our gross profit percentage up on the construction jobs, to the targets, then we're going to hit profit sharing. And what do I got to do that? Earlier, you mentioned something about team members not pulling their weight. And what does that do to everyone else's profit sharing checks? And that's a great question. When you have a good leader implementing this and you are doing all the basic business one-on-ones correctly, and you got accurate financials, your team members, and you teach and preach this correctly to them, and you lead them to what this profit sharing is supposed to do, they will help the team members that aren't pulling their weight. And if they can't help them and it's a continuous thing, they will also help them leave and work somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
When we bring somebody on, we have systems every 30 days. There's a one-on-one with their leader and myself to make sure that they're doing their job and they're learning and they feel welcomed and they're getting the training they need. But by 90 days, it's typically not a question if they're pulling their weight at that point in time. And then the team will get feedback from all the other team members that work with them to make a decision of, are they helping the company make profit sharing, or are they just here for a paycheck, right? We don't want those people. We want people to be thriving and shooting for the goals and helping the team move forward.
Okay. So I understand that you are kind of painting the picture of what it is more so from the employer standpoint of why it's a good thing and how it can bring up morale. I'm looking at it from an employee standpoint because I'm thinking about all the guys and girls, boots on the ground that are sitting there going, because I've had people come up to me and they're like, Lisa, my boss wants to do profit sharing. And I'm going to tell you, I'm like, nope, stay away from that.
Yep.
Because profit sharing, as far as I'm concerned, there needs to be massive transparency. And I'm not saying you don't do it. Okay. So what you've explained to me is that there is transparency. I believe that employees should understand overhead. Yep. So when they're sitting there, because what happens is employees get really quite, they have a lot of feelings about what's going on with the boss. Why is the boss taking another trip? Why is the boss not here today? Why is the boss doing this? The boss spent 5 years not being able to feed his family. The boss spent 5 years working 60, 70, 80 hours, taking any and every job to make sure that he could build or she could build a company that was viable. And now that the company is viable, you're now part of that company and you're making a paycheck. But let's just take let's just slow down and show you what overhead looks like. Because I tell you, employees do not understand what overhead looks like, especially when you're doing a transparency. But then at the same time, for the profit sharing portion of it, I want to understand what is really the benefit of an employee if they can't really see the books. Because I'm being honest with you, when it comes to when we're dealing with companies, not very many people are leaders. They are bosses. And majority of the people that are helping run their company don't know a lick about the company. I don't really know how they got the job. Most of them don't really know. Yeah. Some of them have a good idea, but they're making more money. So for me, I want the people on the ground to be making profit sharing more appealing than the guy that's spinning in the chair or the girl that's, doing this and that. Like, everybody has a role, but the company is essentially being built by your people that are on the ground. That are out there actually doing it, right? The people in the office are necessary, and I would never say that they're not, because I'm very much an office person and I know we're all necessary. But I would happily, for someone like me sitting in an executive role, trade my profit sharing for my foreman or for one of his best lead that he's got. He might say to me, I got a guy on site and he's amazing. He shows up every day, does this, does that. Or I have a female that, she's always precise. She never misses. I want it to go to her. I want it to go to him. I want it to go to the people that are putting their best foot forward every single day. But everybody's so goddamn greedy that they're like, oh, I want profit sharing. And then you're talking about that there's different percentages for different people. Mm-hmm. So if we're talking about profit sharing, the executives shouldn't be getting as high a number as a profit sharing if you're going to make it appealing to your employees, because they're already making a minimum or just above minimum wage. Some of the guys are making $40 to $50 an hour because they're a skilled trade. In today's economy, it's not enough. So how is it beneficial to an employee that's on the ground knowing that their executive is probably making a higher profit share?
Okay. So full disclosure, currently at this time, I do not have any hourly team members on profit sharing. It is something that we started looking into last year, of coming up with a new metric for our guys. I call them my guys in the field, the carpenters, the guys that are sweating and bleeding, right? With their hands out there swinging the hammers and the paintbrushes. I am totally on the same page and agree with you on that. And it's something that I'm passionate about. And another leader that I have here, he was actually one of the ones that created the profit sharing program with me. It's something that he's passionate and constantly reminds me about doing. So we're working on something like now. So currently I don't have that program in place. It's probably going to be a product I'm going to offer, and once I can prove it and work it and show that it actually works. So, but this goes back to, so I write about this in my book, the profit sharing. You have to pay competitive wages, right?
Mhm.
My carpenters cannot go down the street and get a raise for somebody else because I'm underpaying them, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
So if the market in our area is $50 an hour for a carpenter, then the guy down the street's not paying 55, or he would, be out of business. And so we look at our talent every 6 months. We don't do reviews. I call them reflections, where every 6 months I sit down with every single technician, and we do peer reviews. So they get piece of papers, they fill out their scores on how they're doing on everything, what their goals are, what our company goals are for them, and also their personal goals. So there's a lot of communication directly with me as the owner about what's going on with their life and what they can do to create more value so that they can make more money. So I'm always very important. It's been very important to me that they are at the top end of their market, especially the ones that earn it, right?
Mhm.
The ones that don't earn it, we let them go work for the other guy down the street. But the ones that are, they're committed and loyal and really care about the company, those guys get paid very, very well for that efforts. And that's why we are putting in time and effort into figuring out a profit sharing program for them. And not to spill the beans on anything, but it's most likely going to be tied into the gross profit percentage, because that's the number that they can affect on the project, right? The guys in the field can't affect overhead, right? They don't make decisions that talk about how much we spend on printer paper and what the rent of the building is and all those things, but they can affect what goes on the job sites as far as meeting deadlines and schedules and being safe, not getting hurt, and keeping up with not wasting materials and over, too many hours, tracking all the metrics that it takes to make a job profitable as much as possible. Even before I have that program in place, some of the benefits I see now is that the leaders, the decision makers that are running these guys and estimating these jobs, there's a greater care and sense for the guys in the field, because they understand when they're happy and they're set up well for success, that helps the organization win. The job profits are higher. When you have a happy field, what
Mhm.
happens to your bottom line typically? You're
Well, you're
more
getting bought.
successful.
Yeah.
Yeah. If your field is disgruntled and angry and gossiping and pissed off about this estimator or this superintendent, that creates division and strife, and people don't want to work for it in an environment like that. So when it's, and everything comes from the top, right? This all has to come down from me as the owner, my leadership, the leadership that I train. Earlier, you said that these people don't know about leadership. They don't know about the company. We do that. Every week, I have everyone in the office in a meeting training about leadership. And then every 2 weeks, I have every field tech in the office for our safety meeting. And it's usually about 5 minutes of safety, about 5 minutes of any changes or updates, and then 20 minutes of leadership, cultural, how are you doing? What's going on? What can we do to improve? So it's not just about a profit sharing check every month. It's a lot more to your morale and the leadership that it takes to have a good, happy, healthy workforce.
Yeah. No, and I'm not disagreeing with you, but what I'm saying is that it's not just a leadership. I think it's great that you're doing workshops for leadership. I'm
Hmm.
talking about leadership members that are no good with people.
Yeah.
So I see that a lot in the trades where you have like your construction manager, your site superintendent, right? You have, like your project manager,
Hmm.
and they are not good with people. They actually
Yep.
bring the morale down.
Absolutely.
And some of them don't have the education to be doing it. Some of them don't have the knowledge of, true construction or the job that they're doing it, but it's like they're fucking winging it.
Hmm.
And I'm like, what are
Well, they're
you
not people
doing?
persons, and they got there because they could swing a hammer, not
Not
because they can
even.
lead
Some of them
others.
can't even swing a
Well,
hammer.
yeah, that's true. Some of them can't, but what I see typically is that they get there because of, they did really well on a job, and so they looked really good to the boss. And then when the position opened up, and it's like, oh, let's have Larry take this role because he can make money when he's a horrible leader. Maybe he's not a horrible leader, but he doesn't even aware of what leadership is, or been trained, or ever had the opportunity to know anything about that, right? Management of people. I don't like calling people managers. I like to call them coaches. And this is a cultural thing in my organizations. I know for
Mhm.
a fact my service managers, my site superintendents, my foremans all get leadership training, to the longer they're here, the more that they've heard. And I do a lot of one-on-ones, and they hear it. They're hearing something of value all the time. We do team building events where we talk about this stuff, and they get a lot of it from examples from the higher ups too. The foremans are seeing the leadership from the superintendents. And when we get people in those roles, it's typically not the best plumber or the best carpenter. It's typically the one that we think has the most leadership capabilities, the right personality traits, and has been the most receptive to that training.
Okay. And that's great for you guys. But in the grand scheme of things, because we're talking about why profit sharing would be good. But what I'm saying is that there's so many other little things in order to make profit sharing worth it. And one of the big things that I've always been kind of an advocate for when it comes to the men and women on the ground doing the work is that I don't believe executives should have profit sharing opportunities. I think it should go straight to the people on the ground because they do 100% impact our overhead based on how they order, how they put in the cost for estimate, how they're, if they're utilizing it properly, how much waste they actually have, if they constructed it properly, if we have to go back, how much warranty we have. These are all things that these people on the ground are going to affect overhead on. And so them understanding that this month we had an extra $50,000 worth of overhead because 6 of our crews overbought and and 3 of them didn't, deliver what they should have or on time or didn't hit schedules. Yeah. And those are ways you teach, right? But at the same time, we're dealing with so much ego inside the trade space. So this can't be an easy sell because there's a lot of ego inside this space. I experience it regularly.
I know. I see it every day.
Yeah. So
I saw it this morning in a meeting.
I love what you're doing, Rob. And I think that you've taken a really great approach. I don't know if I'd agree with your coach's comment because I'm like, don't perpetuate that stereotype because, everybody wants to be a coach. But, you're not wrong, though. Everybody that is in a leadership role is a coach and a mentor because that's what you do. You coach and mentor your staff to be better. And you yourself as a leader do the same. So I'm not upset about it, right? It's more or less the joke on it, but
yeah, I got you.
You yourself are doing amazing with your company and with the people that you have around you and your people. I haven't seen it, but what I'm hearing from you sounds like you've got a great team and they have a great boss, right? Or a great leader. So, which is so few and far between. Like, if I'm being honest with you, in trades, I don't come across I have very few friends of mine with all the companies that are out there. Maybe I haven't met a lot. There's still lots to meet, right? Just in my little neck of the woods. But the ones that I have met, I would say 1 out of 10 have integrity, are all about leading, are all about giving the proper support, the proper education, training, and they might be a good fit for profit sharing. I don't know, right? I'm not totally sold on it. I'm sold on what you're doing per se, but what you're doing and what you're selling to other companies, I don't know. Sometimes I wonder if it would just be a quick, just to be really blunt with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
If an owner would take it and say, this is if we put in profit sharing and we pay them out the first quarter, it's like the pizza party and then they'll shut up for 4 months and then, whatever. But then they don't see your books. They don't see the transparency. So you could be getting an extra $150, $200, maybe 500 if you're lucky. And then if they're taxing it correctly, hey, great. But a lot of these people are trying to find a way to keep people happy. It's like the instant gratification, right? If I give you this, it'll shut you up long enough so that I can just figure out what the next move is for me to do because I don't want to pay you enough money, right? So, because that's what happens a lot. A lot of people are really underpaid. And I'm not saying that it's a bad boss, but I am saying that too. I'm sure your employer would like to pay you more, but then if you're bidding your jobs at a higher rate than the other guy, your staff should be paid well because that's what you're paying for, right? But that's the old saying goes, you get what you pay for.
Yeah, 100%.
So if I know that I can get my deck done for, $10,000 and the other guy comes in and says, no, I can do that for $7,000. The next guy comes in and says, I'll do that for $15,000. I go, I want the guy that says 15,000. And he comes in and his workers are pissed off, disgruntled, overworked, and they're not lining up my posts properly. They're, you know what I mean? They're not doing what they're supposed to. I'm going to, and me being me, like, I mean, I know what to look for, but if I'm not me, I'm going to be like, oh, they just seem like they're really upset. I gave them some lemonade or whatever, and they just seemed like they were upset about something, or they were kind of grumpy and having an off day. But then all of a sudden something happens to my deck and I don't understand why. And it's because they didn't put enough concrete down on the posts, or they used a different type of, because they got like those new, like, that's like a foam that like comes, I don't remember what it is. There's a few of them. There's a few different, like, I can't think of it. My brain stopped. Like a cement foam that you can put in. And some of them you can get are cheap and garbage. Some are awesome. They work great, but then there's others that is just garbage. And so if they're cutting corners, but then you're still paying the same, when I know that I probably could have got a better deck, maybe not as big, maybe not whatever, maybe a few things that aren't the same, for $7,000, but I paid 15 because I wanted a good deck with, treated lumber, and, I wanted, different kind of, or maybe even wanted cedar or something, you know what I mean? Different kind of wood. Then, you know what I mean? You get what you pay for. You get what you pay for. So that's why I say to you, when it comes to the profit sharing aspect, I'm sorry, I'm rambling. When it comes to the profit sharing aspect, I don't want anyone to go into it thinking that it's great, because what happens if someone leaves in the middle? So if you're making profit sharing and one of your employees decides that there's a parting of ways, whether it's your decision or their decision, does that matter?
I pay out if they made profit sharing for the month that they were here, a full month, I still pay it out. I actually had a lady went on maternity leave, and she was planning on coming back.
Okay.
And then her maternity leave ended, and then she changed her mind about coming back. And so we paid her the profit sharing for those months, even though she wasn't here on maternity leave, because she was technically still employed. Mm-hmm. And so, because she was still part of the team, right? She was just having a baby. But yeah, so if you have to work here to get the profit sharing, right? We're not profit sharing to the guy down the street. But
no, I agree.
Yeah. And if you quit on the second week of the month, we're not going to pay you profit sharing for that month. But the month before, you absolutely would get your profit sharing for that month, because you were part of the team. You helped make it happen.
So what about the people that pay quarterly? Because most people wouldn't pay like you, wouldn't pay monthly. They would pay quarterly. That's mostly how
I teach against that. I think that you're not changing people's lives because you're not affecting those monthly bills.
I know, you said that.
Yeah.
That's great.
And I think Christmas bonuses are a waste of money for the company. It can make for a great Christmas party, right? There's a quick motivation. Like you said, they want that instant gratification, but you're not really changing their life, right? So I have a total different thought process about this. If these people have monthly bills and they have goals, like if you have a monthly savings plan of $500 a month, you're going to save every month. How does a Christmas bonus help you do that? No, but an extra $1,000, $1,500 a month, you can actually budget to save, to make your savings goals and actually improve your monthly financial needle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and back to your other points about the deck guys. The guys that are building crappy decks won't be in business very long.
No, right? We know.
Profit sharing is not for guys that do that stuff. Profit sharing are for the business owners that care, that have a relentless pursuit of self-education for themselves and for their team. They're reading books. They're trying to become better leaders. I have a book club in my company where every other week we sit down and we pick books and we read a couple of chapters and we talk about them. And they're all leadership books or business books usually about teamwork and unity. It's usually kind of the topics we go towards. Of the one we're doing right now is about how to lead when you're not in charge. How to become a leader when your name is not on the building, right? How to lead through influence. So this is what profit sharing is for. Profit sharing are for those business owners that care, that put out a good product. They bootstrap this thing. Their name is on the building. Their name is on that deck. And they actually want to build something sustainable, and they want to do it with people that are on the same page, that want to win too. And so you're tying in, you're closing that gap between boss cracking a whip, right? Boss and cracking the whip.
Yep.
And leader, coach, mentor, and partner, right? Team members, right? You take an employee from the word employee to team member. Hey, if we do this together, everybody's going to win on the team, not just the owner. He's not getting a bigger boat. Everybody's going to get a piece of this, and all of our lives can get better.
See, and I love that. Like, if I'm being honest with you, Rob, the way you're doing it makes sense.
Right.
And I can get behind what you're selling at this point. Yeah. I'm talking about you are like 1 out of 10.
Well, I'm going to change that. And
I love that.
I can coach other business owners because I get this happen. I just had a Canadian company contractor. I think they were in Edmonton. Don't quote me on that. They had 2 offices, pretty big outfit. Okay. One of their main office was in Edmonton, and it was a father son, and then there's some other guy partner thing. Pretty big deal. They do residential remodeling, and they reach out to me about profit sharing, and they do it once a year currently right now. So they called that their Christmas bonus was a profit sharing because they would take a percentage of the year's profits, and then they would divide it up. And they, man, I totally lost my train of thought there. What were we talking about?
I get it. You're talking about the company that might be in Edmonton and what they were doing.
Yeah. Oh, so they just wanted profit sharing because they thought it was going to hit this switch of motivation.
Yeah.
But when I talked to these guys for an hour, I found out that the father and the son are not on the same page when it comes to leadership. You have the dad who's this old school whip cracker, and this kid, it was more of a warmy fuzzy, how's everybody's feelings doing? And they were not on the same page. So there was already conflict from the top going down. And they wanted a quick fix for this profit sharing program to fix all these issues and communication issues and the teams that were in the offices. And I was like, you guys are not ready for profit sharing.
No.
You guys need to get on the same page. You need to read books about what real leadership is. You know, sometimes you crack the whip. Sometimes you ask them how the family life's going, right? There's a balance there. It takes both kinds in a combination to be a good leader and mentor.
I agree. But I'm telling, like, what I'm saying to you is that I wish you luck because the majority of people.
Yeah.
Like the son father dynamic that you just said, that is pretty much like 100% accurate for the majority of the companies out here. And not just in construction, but just companies in general, mostly construction. You see that where, you know, you get the guy that's like, you know, I've even said, I'll never forget this. So I'm like you, I'm a leader. So I remember saying to one of my employers, because I ran all the staff, and I said, you know, it'd be really nice if every once in a while you just went in and thanked the staff.
Yeah.
Told them you appreciated them, just for them to see you around. Do you know what he said to me? He said, their paycheck is a thank you.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, you're a dick.
Yeah, pretty much. I 100% agree with you. Yeah. It is so easy to do a thank you. Or Dave Ramsey, you know who Dave Ramsey is?
Yes.
He talks about the $100 handshake.
Yep.
Where he would pick somebody or 5 people in his office and walk around, and those 5 people would just get this random $100. It'd be a handshake with $100 folded in his hand.
Yep.
And a big thank you and an attaboy. And that stuff goes so long. You know, you get those little moments at the water cooler with one of the girls on your staff and just saying, hey, you know what? Thank you for all the hard work you put in. I really appreciate you. And I'm glad you're on my team. That's what I like to say. I'm glad that you're here, and I'm glad that you're on my team.
Yeah.
And it goes a long way, but you're absolutely right. So but to me, those are basic leadership tools, right? Those are basic leadership foundational stuff that we think it is, right? And you're right. It's not as prevalent as we would like, but those are the businesses that I'm appealing to. Those people that are doing these things, they're educating themselves, because if they're not educating themselves, they're probably never going to find me or hear about me. They're not listening to podcasts. They're not listening to Lisa talk about the issues that she wants to see fixed, right? They're not listening to Dave Ramsey. They're not reading books that Patrick Lencioni wrote on teamwork, right? The people that are doing that stuff, that do go to these conferences about leadership and marketing and operations and leading, those are the people that I'm going after. The guy that has 2 trucks and he's had 2 trucks for 30 years because he's an asshole and nobody wants to work with him. Yeah. Profit sharing is not for them, right? I'm not selling the Holy Bible to the masses. I am selling a very specialized program that I figured out to the people that want it and that qualify for it.
I love it. You said, I'm not selling the Holy Bible. You're hilarious.
It's true, man. So yeah, this is not a one size fits all program. This is just something that I stumbled across that I wanted to figure out. I did.
I think it's great.
And it's brought me huge success. I have other businesses all over the country already doing it, and they're seeing the success and the rewards. Their teams are happier. Their people are making more money. The company's making more money, and the customers are happy. I've had customers worked with someone on my team for 2 years and did not know that they weren't the owner because of the
That's
service that they got.
Yeah, but the profit sharing puts people in a position, and it is a psychological aspect that they are part of an ownership, right?
They are, right. You're
So
affecting their daily activities.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So okay, so we're gonna wrap up, but before I do, I want you to tell me one of two things. I want you to either tell me what was your favorite thing about, like, what's your favorite thing about construction and a horror story, or you can tell me a joke.
Man, my jokes wouldn't fly on the air for PG rating. But
It's not PG; it's uncensored.
my favorite part about construction is the customer interaction that I get to when I walk into a site. They have a problem, and
Yep.
I have the solution, and just being the hero of solving that problem for them, and then rallying my guys and my team, my office staff, the estimators all together, and having this unified approach to solving this problem. And then the customer, and then the best part is, this is like when another parent compliments your kids.
Mm-hmm.
The customer has the gumption, because of how well the experience was, to send an email into the office saying thank you, and so was so great on site, and we really love working with your team. We print those out in the office and we announce them to the team meetings and clap and cheer, and I jump around like a crazy guy and make a big deal about that.
You Tom Cruising on the couch there.
Yeah, exactly. So we make that's probably my favorite part, is when you do a good job, people recognize that.
Yeah.
And I'm in the car wash business, and we wash a lot of cars, and we'll get 5 bad reviews after washing 5,000 cars in a week. But you never hear about the 4,995 happy customers that are coming back the next week,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the world always goes so negative, right? We're fast to
Tends to.
complain. We never compliment, or we never say thank you, just like bad bosses do. We all do it across the board. My favorite reviews sometimes, not to get off topic here, is the ones that go, I've been coming to this car wash for 6 years, but last
Mm-hmm.
Saturday, this happened. And now I get a 1-star review, right? So I have a customer that was happy for 6 years, never left a review or said something nice. And then the one time we ran out of towels or whatever, they got something negative to say. So my favorite part about construction is that the horror story. I got a great story for you. My brother might kill you for this if he ever listens to this. In the
Kill
early
you.
days, you kill me. Yeah, kill me. The early days of the plumbing company, we flooded out a leasing office in an apartment building, and it was the carpet in this. So the water came. We had to vacuum out the
Yep.
water. The carpet was destroyed. We had to peel up this carpet. It was $40,000 worth of carpet. It was this really nice luxury apartment building.
Oof.
Yeah, and I was small. Like $40,000 was probably what we made in a whole quarter, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was gonna kill almost half our year. Not only was that profit loss, but it took 2 quarters to like get back to zero after that. Almost a whole year's worth of work at the time. And my brother was working on that crew, my little brother, and he was helping the leasing staff put the desks back together and plug in the computers and get all the ladies in there that sell the apartment amenities and all this stuff going back together. Well, 9 months later, I found out that I had a niece on the way, and from my brother's interaction with the leasing staff at that property. So not really a horror story. She's a great girl now, and my favorite niece, I got to say.
I hope you don't have any other nieces and nephews. You
I
said
do.
that.
I have a lot of nieces and nephews.
You just said on the air she's my favorite.
I know. Well,
It caused a lot of
they're all still
complexes.
young. They're all still young. I'm probably not going to listen. So I'll throw this
But
out
some
there.
of them will. You'll get siblings that'll call you and be like, "What do you mean she's the favorite? What
I
about Mike's?"
know. Well, I see her a lot, and she is a cutie. She's so kind and nice, and she's best friends with my daughter. So she's always helping out at the house
You
when
have a
she
stronger
comes
bond
over.
with her. Makes sense.
Yeah. So
You
she's
gotta watch
local.
the. Yeah, well, you gotta watch the my favorite, because my kids will try and pull that with me. They're like,
Oh yeah.
"Who's your favorite?" And I'm like, "Well, it depends on the day and who's talking shit to me. Who's my favorite?"
You know what I
And they're
tell my
like,
kids? The dog. The dog is my
"Dog."
favorite child. Yeah. None of you humans are even close.
You got nothing on this dog.
Nothing on this dog. Yeah.
I love it. That's awesome. Thank you so much for being on the show with me, Rob. And I will make sure that I get this out to everybody so they can all hear it, because it'll probably launch, I think, next Wednesday. I will double check with my producer. If not next Wednesday, then the Wednesday after. Stick around with me because I want to get some information from you so that people can reach out to you. But before I shut this down, can you give me a website that people can find you on?
Yeah, profitx.co. Oh, also, I didn't mention, we're putting together a course because a book wasn't enough to get everything I know about profit sharing. So we'll have a course available for you guys that will teach you. It's 27 videos, everything that I've learned about what not to do and how to do profit sharing correctly. That you can find on profitx.co. Also,
profitx.co.
Yep. Find me on Facebook and Instagram, and you can follow my crazy life and hear more about profit sharing.
Okay, and that's Rob Gallagher. For those of you that are listening and not watching the show. Perfect. Well, thanks again, Rob. I really appreciate you being on the show and talking about profit sharing. And you did change my perspective, as long as it's done the right way versus just people trying to throw things at and make it work just so that people don't understand really what's going on. So I do appreciate what you're bringing to the table and trying to change our industry for the better, and to support our, our men and women on the ground that are doing the work, and everybody in the office that can all be, that all need to be supported in their own way.
100%.
So thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
We all started there. And I have a guy that works for me that runs one of my departments. When he started for me, he didn't speak any English. Mm-hmm. And his wife came to my house at the time where the business was started and filled out his employment paperwork. Now he runs like 22 people, because amazing. He was one of the guys that listened when I spoke about leadership. He learned English. He invested in himself. When I was speaking and telling him to read books, he was doing it, and he was putting in the effort to become a better leader. And it shows in his pay now and his position and his ability and his value in the marketplace.
Did you say where he was from? Was he from Mexico?
He is from Mexico. Yeah.
You know what? I can completely understand that, because any Mexican person that I have ever worked with or has worked under me, if they're coming from Mexico, they are the most grateful, gracious people, and they want to learn and they want to succeed. And so, that's an amazing story. And I mean, I got to give it up to the Mexican people, because they're very hard workers.
Yeah. I grew up in a small Mexican farming town in the Valley of California, and I have a lot of respect for their culture, and their work ethic was something that my dad was a really hard worker too, but seeing that every day, we lived in the fields, the farming fields around us, and these people bust their butt. And I just thought, this is how you make it in this world. It's working hard and picking up skills and applying those to your everyday life. Yeah. Amazing.
I agree. Well, thanks again, Rob. I appreciate you being on the show. Okay, everybody, we'll all catch up with you guys in the next weeks. Thank you for listening. And as always, don't forget, don't do anything crazy.